the Forbidden Blender.
I want a doggy, the little girl said, or rather shouted at her father. From the look on her father's face, this was not the first time they had had the conversation they were about to have again. "Sweetheart, what did I tell you last time?" The child was taken aback by the question. There was usually screaming on both sides by now. You said that I wasn't responsible enough last time?" The unfortunate incident with the goldfish. "Yes, and if you weren't able to take care of a goldfish, I'm not sure you'd be able to handle a dog." But... Tears were welling in the young girl's eyes as she sputtered. Her father, who was now facing her in his swivel chair, creaked the chair forward and held his child's face in his hands. "Here's what we're gonna do, sweetheart. I'm going to give you 2 weeks to prove how responsible you are. Getting up for school, packing your own lunch, being in bed by bedtime. If you can do that for me, without me having to remind you, for 2 weeks, I'll get you a dog." Her tiny face seemed to explode in sparkles of joy. "You really mean it?" "Yes, but it's 2 whole weeks. That's 14 days. You think you can do it?" She placed her hands square on her hips and her face scrunched in determination. "Okay." The next 2 weeks were tense, and arguably the longest of her, relatively short so far, life. She cut it close a few of those times, but he never had to remind her, with the exception of him having to intervene when she tried to make peanut butter by smashing peanuts and margarine together with his hammer from the garage. Everything went surprisingly smooth. "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy!" she shouted. "Yes," her father answered, not looking up from his work at the desk. "It's been 2 weeks," she said triumphantly. "And?" her father asked, seeming to lead the witness. "And I did everything you told me to." "You did?" He had swiveled around in mock surprise. "Now I get a doggy." He smiled warmly at his daughter. "Yes, you do. Come on, to the pet store." Getting up from his desk, her father led her to the door of the basement. A small plastic sign reading "Pet Store" hung next to the light switch. He flicked the switch before opening the door. "Remember, sweetheart, it's a long way down, so watch your step." Once the door opened, the barking reached their ears. After several flights of stairs and a slight drop in temperature, they touched down onto the smooth concrete of the basement. The barking was much louder now. The sounds of several dogs, all varying sizes and volumes. The little girl was so excited she was shaking. He led her over to a section of the kennel in the back. "Now, I just found this one, so he's a little scared." "Why doesn't he look right?" "Well, I usually groom them right away, but you were so excited, I decided it could wait." "Is he asleep?" "Probably. He's very tired. He had a long trip." "Can we wake him up?" "For a few minutes, and then he needs his rest, okay?" The little girl took a few steps forward and lightly rapped on the metal bars of the cage, echoing under the high ceilings. Who's there? Please, I just want to see my family." The little girl's nose wrinkled in disapproval. "Well, he doesn't sound like a doggy at all." Her father's eyes remained warm as he pulled a small remote out of his pocket. No, he doesn't. Whoever is there, I'll give you whatever you want. Money? Money? I don't have a lot, but... The voice was replaced by violent, tortured screams. Her father's eyes never left the cage as he released the pressure of his thumb from the small remote. Please, I'll do anything. Just stop! The voice was cut off again, and a reprise of screams was heard. After a few seconds, her father released his thumb once more. Only heavy, pained breathing was heard from the cage. Then suddenly loud, guttural barking was heard. The little girl clapped her hands as she jumped up and down. Oh, thank you, Daddy. Thank you so much. I knew you'd get me a real doggy. I knew you would. You're very welcome, sweetheart. Now you go upstairs and pick out a leash. Just make sure it's a bright color so we can find him if he gets loose at night, okay? Okay. Happiness was radiating off her like a space heater, and she made her way towards the stairs. Past the cages of men in various states of starvation barking as loudly as they could. Past the men painted black, yellow, or brown, with fur painfully stitched to their bodies. Past the large tank of water with the man in the orange wetsuit floating at the top, outfitted with ancient scuba gear. As she put one foot on the stairs to start her ascent, she stopped. She turned around and placed a hand on the tank, watching the decaying body bob in the filthy water. I'm sorry I forgot to feed you, Mr. Fish. Then she turned around and dashed up the stairs. She couldn't wait to play with her new doggy.